You ever notice how most people wake up in the morning and the first thing out of their mouth is a complaint? I'm so tired. It's Monday. I don't feel like dealing with this today. And then they wonder why their day spirals out of control. They wonder why they feel unmotivated, stuck, and overwhelmed. But I came to tell you something simple, yet powerful. For just 24 hours, just one day, speak to your day like it listens. Because it does. See, your mouth is not just a communication device, it's a creation device. God didn't think the world into existence. He spoke it. He said, let there be, and then there was. And if you were created in His image, then that means your words have power too. But the problem is, most of us are walking around using the most powerful thing we've been given against ourselves. You speak lack, and you wonder why abundance doesn't show up. You speak chaos and then ask God for peace. You declare defeat and then expect to win. But life doesn't work like that. You don't get the life you want, you get the life you speak. When you wake up in the morning, your words are either setting your direction or reinforcing your dysfunction. Every time you open your mouth, you're prophesying your future. So if you say this is going to be a stressful day, guess what kind of day you just gave permission to show up? But if you rise up and say, this is the day that the Lord has made, I will rejoice and be glad in it. Now you've set the tone. Now you've taken authority. You don't need to be a morning person to command your day. You just need to be a kingdom person. And kingdom people don't speak based on how they feel. They speak based on what they know. I don't always feel like being joyful, but I know joy is a choice. I don't always feel like working, but I know diligence brings promotion. I don't always feel strong, but I know the joy of the Lord is my strength. So I don't wait on my feelings to speak right. I make my feelings catch up with what I speak. You've got to get militant about your language. You've got to become a thermostat instead of a thermometer. A thermometer reads the environment. A thermostat sets it. Most people wake up and check their emotions like a thermometer. How do I feel today? What's going on around me? But people who win in life, in business, and in purpose, they wake up like a thermostat. They say, this is how the day will go. This is who I am. This is what I'm walking in. You've got to speak like a commander, not a complainer. See, complaining is like putting fuel in the enemy's vehicle. Every complaint gives power to the problem. But commanding, speaking life, declaring truth, walking in authority, that's how you unlock the supernatural. That's how you shift the atmosphere around you. Some of why all are waiting for a breakthrough, but your mouth has been blocking the blessing. You keep canceling your own prayers with your daily confession. You pray for provision, then say, I'm broke. You ask for opportunities, then say, nothing ever works out for me. Do you not see the contradiction? You can't speak death and expect life. You can't declare fear and walk in faith. It doesn't work that way. The moment you open your eyes, your day is waiting for instructions, and it will follow whatever orders your mouth gives it. You are not a victim of your schedule, your boss, your bills, or your emotions. You are a commander. Speak like it. And no, I'm not saying everything will go perfectly. I'm not saying trials won't show up. But I am saying this, when life hits you, you'll already be armored up. Because you started the day saying, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. You declared, all things are working together for my good. You said, I walk in favor, I walk in excellence, I walk in divine timing. And that mindset, that confession, that declaration, it changes everything. So here's the challenge. For just 24 hours, talk like the outcome depends on your voice. Because it does. Don't let one negative word leave your mouth. Don't let one toxic thought stay in your head. Start your day with intentionality and watch how everything else begins to align. Because when you speak like a commander, your circumstances will start to salute. Command your day, and your day will obey. You know what holds most people back? It's not their background. It's not their lack of resources. It's not even their circumstances. It's the language they speak to themselves every single day. You can have the talent. You can have the vision. You can even have the strategy. But if your words are out of alignment with your destiny, you will sabotage everything you were born to walk in. Let me tell you something. Your words are not just sound waves in the air. They are spiritual contracts. Every time you say, I'm not smart enough, I always mess things up, nothing good ever happens to me, you're signing agreements with lack, fear, and failure. You are literally giving permission for limitation to sit at your table and eat the harvest that was meant for you. But when you start replacing limiting language with liberating language, everything begins to shift. Not because the outside world changes, but because you change the rules of engagement. See, most of us have been trained to talk small. We grew up hearing things like money doesn't grow on trees, don't get your hopes up, be realistic. So what do? We internalize it. We start talking ourselves out of our own purpose. But I came to challenge you today. What if, for just 24 hours, you refused to speak anything that wasn't in agreement with your divine identity? What if you stopped giving voice to your limitations and started speaking from your liberation? Let me break it down like this. Your subconscious doesn't argue with your words. It just receives the instruction. If you say, I'm always late, it doesn't say no, you're just having a rough week. It says, okay, always late, got it. And then it starts running that program over and over again. But the moment you say, I'm disciplined, I show up prepared, I walk in excellence, your mind starts looking for ways to make that truth real. The most dangerous conversations aren't the ones you have with other people. They're the ones you have with yourself when no one's listening. You ever catch yourself saying something like, I'm such an idiot, or I always mess things up? And maybe you laugh it off like it's no big deal, but words have weight even when you speak them casually, even when you don't mean it. Because the universe doesn't respond to your tone, it responds to your truth. And your truth is whatever you keep repeating. But here's the good news. You can rewire your internal dialogue by speaking a different script. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, start saying, how can I afford that? Instead of saying, I'm not ready, say, I'm in preparation. Instead of, I'm so tired, say, I'm getting stronger every day. Instead of, I don't know how, say, I'm learning faster than ever. See, it's not just about sounding positive. It's about speaking like you actually believe in the future you say you want. Some people think this is just hype talk or motivational fluff. But let me ask you a question. How's that self-deprecating, defeated language been working for you so far? Has it brought you the peace you want? The income you want? The growth you want? If not, maybe it's time to stop speaking what's familiar and start speaking what's faith-filled. And don't wait until you feel confident to speak confident. That's backwards. You speak bold before you feel bold. You declare truth even when your reality hasn't caught up. That's not denied design. You're not ignoring the facts, you're installing a new future, because your words are the construction crew of your destiny. What you say today lays the bricks for where you live tomorrow. There's a version of you that only comes alive when you talk to yourself like a king, like a queen, like someone who knows they've been chosen not by chance, but by purpose. And you don't unlock that version of yourself with weak words. You unlock it with winning words, with words that speak to your identity, not your insecurity, with words that speak to your calling, not your condition. So just for 24 hours, make this commitment. Every time you hear yourself say something limiting, stop and replace it with something liberating. Speak strength, even if you feel weak. Speak wisdom, even if you're still learning. Speak abundance, even if the bank account says otherwise. Because eventually, your language will pull your life into alignment. If you want to change your life, you've got to change the way you talk to yourself about your life. Stop negotiating with your limits and start declaring your liberty. Most people are trapped not by chains, but by memory. They live every day speaking from their history instead of from their vision. They rehearse what happened, what didn't work, who left them, what they lost. And because their mouth is always repeating what was, their life never steps into what could be. But here's the truth. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not have the right to speak louder than your future. And if you're going to walk into the fullness of who you are created to be, you've got to make a conscious decision for just 24 hours to speak from vision, not from history. You can't build a promised land life using Egypt's vocabulary. Some of us are free physically, but we're still speaking like slaves. We've been delivered from a situation, but the situation still has our speech. And if your words don't change, your life won't either. You may have left the pain, but if the pain still lives in your mouth, it's still directing your steps. Let me tell you what most people do without realizing it. They keep giving CPR to dead seasons. They keep breathing life into things that already expired. Back in the day, I had a good job. I used to be in shape. I almost started my business. I should have finished school. They keep talking like their greatest days are behind them and don't even realize they're prophesying regression over their own lives. But God never designed you to live and rewind. You were created to move forward. So let me ask you what would happen if you only spoke in the direction you were going. What would shift if you stopped narrating your wounds and started announcing your wins? What would open up if, for just one day, you refused to let your history determine your vocabulary? Because here's the secret, vision has a voice. And when you start speaking from that vision, you begin to align with a version of yourself that already exists, but is waiting on your permission to emerge. You don't need to wait until you arrive to talk like you belong there. You talk like it now so that your life can follow suit. I'm talking about the kind of language that says, I'm becoming the person who can carry what I've been called to build. That says, I'm not who I used to be, I'm evolving into something better, something stronger, something wiser. I'm talking about language that unlocks destiny instead of defending dysfunction. See, when you speak from vision, you give your mind new coordinates. You're not just talking, you're programming. Your words are the GPS for your future. So if all you speak about is what you've been through, guess what direction your life is headed? Right back to it. But if you speak what you see, what's possible, what's ahead, what's calling you higher, then you begin to rise to meet it. And don't think you have to feel visionary to speak visionary. You just have to be willing to override the default setting that says, play it safe. Stay where it's comfortable. Don't dream too big. Your mouth was never meant to repeat your limitations. It was designed to release your liberation. Stop saying, I've always been this way. Stop saying, that's just how I am. That's how you were. But if you want to step into the new, you've got to talk like someone who believes in the new. You can't speak in past tense and expect a present breakthrough. You've got to open your mouth and declare, I'm not bound to my past. I am walking in purpose. I am increasing in wisdom. I am aligning with heaven's blueprint for my life. And even if nothing around you changes in that moment, you begin to change. And when you change, everything else has no choice but to follow. Don't let what hurt you hijack your voice. Don't let disappointment become your dialogue. Don't let what you've been through become the only thing you talk about. There's more ahead of you than there is behind you, but you've got to speak like you believe it. So here's the assignment for 24 hours. No matter what comes up, no matter what old thought tries to creep back in, speak from vision. Speak from future, speak from destiny, not from defeat, not from memory, not from fear. And watch how fast your words begin to build the road to your next level. Your history doesn't get the final word, your vision does. Most people spend their lives talking about their problems like they're permanent and their potential like it's optional. They give more airtime to their weaknesses than to their worth. More conversation about what they can't do than what they're called to do. But the problem with that is this: your words become your reality. And if all you ever speak is what's wrong, you'll never create space for what's right to show up. You were never created to talk from a place of fear, lack, or limitation. You were created to call things that be not as though they were. But instead of speaking to the mountain, most people describe it, instead of speaking life over their situation, they narrate death. They talk about how hard it is, how unfair it is, how stuck they feel, and they wonder why nothing shifts. But hear me, if you want transformation, you've got to stop talking like a victim and start speaking like a vessel. You've got to stop repeating what's going wrong and start declaring what's been placed inside of you. Because your potential doesn't respond to your problems, it responds to your voice. The gifts in you. They're not waiting on a perfect environment to activate. They're waiting on a word from your mouth. But if you stay silent about your greatness and loud about your struggles, you'll keep living beneath what's been freely given to you. You've got to flip the script. For just 24 hours, what if you refused to rehearse your issues and chose to speak only to your increase? What if you stopped reminding yourself of your flaws and started reminding yourself of your future? See, the problem isn't that you have a struggle. The problem is that you keep giving the struggle the microphone. There's a version of you that's strong, disciplined, focused, and favored. There's a version of you that doesn't shrink back, doesn't procrastinate, doesn't get easily distracted. That version is real. It's not some fantasy. It's just waiting for your words to unlock it. But if you keep calling yourself lazy, inconsistent, broke, unqualified, that version of you has no invitation to show up. Stop saying things like, I'm just not good with money. No, you're learning to manage money like a kingdom steward. Stop saying, I can't focus. No, you're training your mind to lock in like never before. Stop saying, I always mess things up. No, you're being refined, and you get better with every step. That's the kind of language that speaks to your potential. See, your problems already have a voice. They don't need your help. Your fear talks loud. Your doubt talks loud. Your insecurity talks loud. So the only way to silence them is to speak louder with the voice of truth. You don't get breakthrough by whispering hope and shouting your problems. You get breakthrough by shouting your purpose and starving your fears of attention. And here's the thing, when you speak to your potential, it doesn't just change your mood. It changes your movement. You start walking different. You show up different. You stop approaching your life like you're disqualified and start moving like you've been assigned. That shift happens the moment your mouth gets in alignment with your identity. Some of y'all are praying for clarity, praying for confidence, praying for results, but your mouth is still in agreement with failure. You're asking God for a miracle, but speaking mediocrity all day long, and you don't even realize you're canceling out the very thing you're believing for, because you can't ask for greatness and then speak like you're not worthy of it. So here's what I want you to do just for 24 hours. Talk to yourself like you believe in your destiny. Speak to your gifts like they're already bearing fruit. Talk to your future like it's already unfolding. And don't talk about the fear. Talk about the faith that's rising in you. Don't describe your flaws, declare your freedom. And when the old voice tries to creep in, that voice that says, who do you think you are? You respond, I'm chosen. I'm anointed. I'm built for this. That kind of talk. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. You're not bragging, you're believing. You're not pretending, you're prophesying. And if you'll do that, if you'll train your mouth to speak to your potential instead of your problems, your environment won't be able to resist the change that comes with it. Your problems may be loud, but your potential deserves to speak louder. Most people are waiting for the right time, waiting for the right mood, waiting until they feel confident, focused, or inspired before they start speaking like someone with purpose. But here's the reality. If you wait to feel right before you speak right, you'll stay stuck. Because feelings are followers, not leaders. And if your words are always at the mercy of your emotions, then your future will always be delayed by your mood. You don't speak powerfully because you feel powerful. You speak powerfully until you start feeling the power rise inside you. You speak faith when you feel fear. You speak peace when chaos is screaming. You speak victory when defeat is pressing up against you. Why? Because your words are not a reaction to your environment. They are the raw material that shapes your environment. C, discipline is not about doing what you feel. It's about doing what's true, even when your feelings are nowhere in the building. And speaking life, even when you're tired, confused, or discouraged, is one of the most disciplined things you can do. Because it means you've decided that your mouth is not a megaphone for your moods, it's a microphone for your mission. That's what separates those who rise from those who remain. It's not talent. It's not education. It's not luck. It's the decision to speak words of life consistently, even when your circumstances don't match what you're declaring. That's how you train your soul to follow your spirit. That's how you teach your mind that it's not in control you are. That's how you build internal authority. You've got to understand, it's easy to talk strong when everything's going your way. It's easy to say, I'm blessed and highly favored when the checks are coming in, the doors are opening, and the relationships are flourishing. But what do you say when nothing seems to be working? What do you speak when you're in the hallway between the door that closed and the one that hasn't opened yet? That's where the real champions are made. Because when you train yourself to speak on assignment, not on emotion, you become unstoppable. You stop being tossed around by every thought and feeling that pops into your head. You stop waking up and letting the day dictate how you talk. Instead, you rise with intention and you declare who you are, where you're going, and what's already done, even if none of it looks real yet. This is about emotional discipline. It's about spiritual maturity. It's about deciding that your words are too powerful to waste on complaining, gossiping, venting, or whining. Your words are weapons. Your words are tools. Your words are seeds. And if you want a different harvest, you've got to plant different seeds even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Let me say this clearly. Consistency beats intensity every time. It's not what you say once in a while when you're feeling good that changes your life. It's what you say daily when you don't feel like saying anything at all. That's where transformation is built. Not in the moment of hype, but in the discipline of habit. So the challenge is simple. For just 24 hours, speak the same truth, whether you feel like a conqueror or not. Don't let your mouth flip-flop based on how your day is going. Don't let your vocabulary shift with your energy. Let your identity dictate your language. Because when your words stay the same, even when your mood tries to change, you're no longer just reacting to life. You're reconstructing life. It doesn't matter if you wake up groggy, frustrated, or overwhelmed. You still say, today is blessed, and I focus, I am aligned with my assignment. I walk in clarity and wisdom. It doesn't matter if your emotions are screaming the opposite. You still say, I am more than a conqueror, I'm built for this, I don't break under pressure, I rise in it. You know why? Because feelings fade, but declarations plant roots. And once those roots go deep enough, you won't be ruled by what's temporary. You'll be governed by what's eternal. This isn't just about saying the right things when it's easy. This is about saying the same things when it's hard. It's about becoming so consistent with your language that your emotions learn they don't run the show. Your purpose does. Your calling does. Your destiny does. So make this decision for the next 24 hours. Speak with conviction, not convenience. Declare with consistency, not condition. Let your words be anchored in who you are becoming, not in how you happen to feel in the moment. You're disciplined to speak life when you feel nothing is what proves you're ready to live everything. Your words were never meant to just describe your life. They were meant to direct your life. And that's why the last key is the most important one. You've got to speak from authority, not insecurity, not hesitation, not fear. From authority. Because when you speak, you're not just talking, you're commanding. You're setting things in motion. You're telling your world what to align with. But if your voice doesn't sound convinced, neither will your environment. Most people don't realize this, but the tone you use when you speak to yourself determines how much weight your words carry. Some of us speak like we're asking life to be better. I hope this works out. Maybe things will change. Hopefully I can break through this time. But authority doesn't ask. Authority announces. Authority doesn't cross its fingers. Authority calls things into order. And if your voice is still unsure, it's time to shift how you speak. You were never designed to speak like a beggar. You were created to speak like someone with dominion. That means when you open your mouth, your words aren't guessing, they're governing. They're not suggesting, they're setting things in place. And that's not arrogance. That's alignment. When you know who you are and whose you are, you stop making declarations that sound like apologies. You stop whispering your potential like you're not sure it's allowed to exist. C, the enemy isn't just afraid of you knowing the truth, he's afraid of you saying it with boldness. Because once your mouth matches your mission, you become dangerous, you become someone who doesn't just dream change but creates it. And if the enemy can't silence you, he'll try to get you to soften your speech, to water down your declarations, to talk small, act small, think small, but today that stops. This is your moment to raise your voice and speak like someone who's been authorized. Speak like someone who's been assigned. Speak like someone who's not waiting for validation because they've already been validated by the vision inside them. When you speak with that kind of authority, everything around you starts taking you seriously, including the parts of you that used to doubt. Some of us have been whispering our dreams while screaming our doubts. We've been timid with our purpose but loud with our problems. But if you want things to shift, your authority has to get louder than your anxiety. You've got to speak from your future, not your fear, from your identity, not your insecurity. Authority doesn't mean yelling, it means clarity, it means confidence, it means when you speak with the full weight of the truth behind you. You say, I am the head and not the tail. I am above only and not beneath. I am blessed in the city and blessed in the field. I walk in divine alignment. I am wealthy in mind, body, spirit, and resources. You don't say it hoping it might be true. You say it because it's already been settled, you're just bringing your mouth into agreement with it. And the beautiful thing about authority is that it doesn't need approval to be exercised. You don't need a committee to confirm what God already placed in you. You don't need a perfect background, a long resume, or a room full of applause to speak like someone with purpose. You just need the courage to believe that your voice was given to you on purpose, for purpose. So for just 24 hours, I want you to speak like someone who's done waiting for permission. Speak like someone who's tired of negotiating with mediocrity. Speak like someone who's decided that they are done hoping for a breakthrough and are now declaring one. Speak like someone who knows their words carry weight in heaven and on earth. That's how doors start opening. That's how fear starts backing off. That's how chains start breaking when your voice sounds like you finally believe what's already true about you. Speak like someone who commands peace, who commands focus, who commands increase, who commands alignment. Because the authority you've been waiting for, it's already been given. All that's left to do now is use it. You don't need permission to speak like you're powerful, you just need to believe it and open your mouth.